about taking a pause from that thing we call reality out there. But the things I discuss are about our spiritual nature, and my big passion is children and families, because, of course, unless we address what we're doing for them, we have nothing for the future. We have no children, we have no happiness, we have no what we call new earth, this idea of living in more happiness and sovereignty, freedom, being able to create something good. And right now, in the world, it's very hard. And we have to exercise all of our spirituality to get to that place. Today I'm going to demonstrate one of the tools that I use in my work, and it's based on improvisation. If you go and have a look at the Actors Studio on YouTube, you can get endless clips. The best one of that is Robin Williams, and watch him improvise just from one thing to another, because he was in the state of spiritual flow. Now, it's a brilliant and exciting and fun tool, and what I'm going to do right now is to go in and be a member of staff, an adult, in my future school. I'm going to call it a school because essentially it's a place of learning, but it's like no school you've ever been to. Now, if you just have a peek, see this picture here with the circles. This is an aerial view of the kind of school I mean. It's the school I have in my Milo and Teal books. Go and read the books and you'll understand all of the concepts behind this. Autodidactic learning in a prepared environment. It sounds very clinical. So, enough talk. What we'll do is I'll go straight in there. Sometimes I will have my eyes closed just to get into the place. And basically I'm going to be acting out, being in the future of how life is. I am so glad you've come to school today. Great. Now, who has projects already? Good. So if you would go to your areas and see if the other adults are here, and let's have a chat about you, Sarah, and you, Jane. Okay. So what were you doing yesterday? You did 3 things, 3 projects, and you finished all of them. All right. So was there any spark that came out from the last one? Right, you want to look into... All right, let's look into dragons and biology. So yes, okay, what I'd like you to do, just for now, because I want to talk still to Jane, is to make notes however you want to about all of your ideas that come up, and then we'll start to look about where and how we're going to develop that. And I'll come back to you in 20 minutes. Okay. So Jane, did you manage to finish what you were trying to close off yesterday? Yes. Okay. And you'd like to do a presentation. That's great. Did you put it on the board? Good. Okay. So 3 o'clock today. Do you need any assistance with the presentation? You need a projector. That's fine. And you need to work at a computer. Well, I think we still have some free. Just go and check in the rota and see if you can get on there. But I'd like to, just before you go and do that, have you got any clue about what you want to do for the rest of this week? Is there something that came up? Because I was looking at your book and there were a number of different things that we could easily move on to. Right, so you were looking at fur, the rabbit fur in particular, and the way it sheds and the layers of fur. Okay, and you wanted to discuss more, you want to go into it. Okay, well, why don't we do something? I noticed that you touched on some anthropological issues when you were looking at fur, as well as the should we use it or should we not use it issues. So I would suggest, if I was you, I would go and look at the American Indian way of life. Have a look at that. If it resonates with you, then maybe we can develop something. But just go and there's a little reference, there's a book that I put in your pigeonhole that you might want to have a look at. And if you don't like that, then come back and let's chat and see what springs from that. Because very often what you don't like tells you what you do like. So, and I will make sure that you've got what you need for your presentation. Great. So that's the first kind of discussion, the children coming in. And now I've got 5 children who already have projects, so I'm going to go and talk to them. Wow, that is quite some construction you have built there. Right, so you're looking at prismic shapes and geometry. Right, so how much theoretical mathematics have you done to construct this, or is it all intuitive? Okay, all intuitive. So have you looked into the areas and the volumes of the solids you've used to build this? No. Now, there was someone who did a project on that last term. You can go and research. It was Jason Fielding, and you could maybe use some of his information because he measured all of the areas and the volumes of everything you're using there. So that might be useful. So I know you've kind of kept away from the theoretical side of mathematics so far, but you did tell me yesterday that you wanted to start to look into it. So that's why I've suggested Jason. And you might want to work with someone who's working with film and camera to take some photographs. There is even the possibility of getting up on the scaffold and taking some aerial shots and see what kind of geometry you're creating. There was a program we were running just last week about taking shapes and radially reproducing them to look at ratio, proportion, and fractals. So, and then the person doing that, I think it was Freddie, was measuring it in terms of the golden mean and the ratio, and looking at how our intuition is related to that. So that would be a sort of mathematics of intuition, which could be quite interesting. You're going to have to work a lot with pi, but you know about that already. But it would just, I think your artistic side could really be enhanced by that, and just use, Jason's work and Freddie, use them to help develop so that you've got your mathematical module done for this term. Yeah, I think that could be really interesting. And what about, you could think about colour, changing the colour, look at representing colour frequency with shape or with volume size, or with area, anything like that, to start to look at patterns. Sometimes if you colour things, you will find new patterns, and then you can explore what that means. All right, I'm going to leave that in your capable hands. Now, that's a little chat with imaginary children. When I chat like that, I'm seeing an image. So there was this sort of construction just then that child had. And the same way that I see projects, I am, of course, pulling through from my imagination. Who knows, in a few years' time, these exact examples may come before me and I'll get a déjà vu moment. It gives you an example of the kind of integrative learning that would go on here. So let me see if I can go into training module of adult to adult. Let's say we've got a perfectly wonderful normal teacher come in through our door, and they want to understand what we're doing and the difference in learning and how to allow the children to be self-directed. So that could be a fascinating conversation. I'm going to go straight in there and see what we find. Ellie, it's just lovely to meet you. Yeah, your CV is incredible. And I can understand, yes, why some of the things you see going on are now disturbing you. So welcome to our school. I think you got a tour this morning, so you got to see some of the way the children work and the concentration and the focus that's there, the heavy breathing when the children are involved in their work. And of course, you still got that lovely outside play. We don't have a structure like a school that you've been used to, where there is a break time, there is a lunch time. Each child, of course, is on their own metabolism, their own system. And they do understand some basic rules because we have meetings every month about this. And children who are unhappy will bring up things. And if they are unhappy to bring it out verbally, they can contribute in an anonymous way. And each of their points will be brought up in the meeting. So if someone has a great problem concentrating and there's very happy skipping children outside, then we've worked out solutions, for example, that we have an ultra quiet zone that can be used for different activities, and therefore children can still be as they need to be outside, free and happy, and others can be concentrated and focused if they want to be. So what I hope you've seen by looking around this lovely place, the Speaking House, is that we have different areas of learning material. So we have our material structured in a kind of a core that children can access. And then, of course, we have so much transition from one subject to another, because nothing is isolated. You know, you want to study ceramics and you find out that you're looking at biology. You know, how did that dirt get there in the first place? You're looking at chemistry, you're looking at geomorphology, and then of course you're looking at art and history and all kinds of aspects, just because ceramics was your thing that you were excited in. So we have enormous amounts of crossover. And we do have, I hope you saw the rules board. We put that in the front in the hall because those slide-in cards change, as I said, with our meetings. So we shift and morph and grow and evolve all the time according to what we feel works. So for example, we have rooms that are mostly devoted, you know, we've got that wet room area where we can have both cooking at one side and chemical work on another side, but we're very clear about the division. But if, for example, we have no one who wants to cook for a while and everyone who wants to do chemistry, or everyone who wants to do art in that space, we change the rule, but we make it very clear what that rule is. So there's nothing hard and fast and set about what we do. It changes, and we all know about the changes. So we are this beautiful fluid flowing organism. Yes, we do have drop-in children. We have children who just come in sometimes. And how do we manage that? Well, again, it's a similar thing. We just have very clear expectations about what they're going to do here and what we're going to do for them. And we decide that at the beginning, and then we keep redeciding it with each week so that we know that we are in clarity with each other. And that happens amongst the children too. They are absolutely encouraged to be clear with their intention, because we understand that intention creates. And so the intention is very important, and we help that kind of expression by some of the special projects we offer. So I do classes in expression of all kinds, and we'll have, usually through that wonderful tool of improvisation, I'll get children up to start to discuss something that's exciting for them. And if they find it's difficult, I will go in and be a character. We turn it into a conversation. We are using role play, future prediction, as a way of shaping and understanding what is going on. And if someone from the audience has interest and understanding, they're allowed into that story. And so we come to this, it's an entertainment, it's great fun, it's crazy, uproarious times we have. So I'm glad that you've got some drama backing, because that shows that kind of relaxation into a subject. It allows you to kind of move away from the sort of tightly held, who am I kind of ego structure. That's the beauty of improvisation. You have to keep stepping into different versions of yourself. But every child I've ever worked with said that's the fun of it. That's what they love. They get to be different people. So that's why it's a massive tool. But we don't, again, it's not for everyone. We just have the sessions every week and I offer them, and we have big attendance of that. And we film them, and some people make projects out of the individual scenes, and other people document the issues that come out. And we have some of the staff doing that regularly so that we can generate, as I said, these kind of the evolution of our rules and our expectations. So yes, what would you do? Well, a lot of the time you're just, not just, but you are observing. So I would always suggest, it's up to you if you want to use an iPad or, pen and paper and write or draw according to what you see. Every child always has something to identify their name as, whether it's on their back. Some of them like to have it on their backs or their fronts, so that we always can know who they are. And you can write down and observe what they're doing. And a lot of our people just kind of build up a picture of what each individual child's doing over the week. And then they may go and have a conversation. Then you've got the other thing, the apprenticeship scheme, which I love. So each person, each adult who works here has an intense focus, passion, speciality, and a huge kind of generalized body of learning and discovery. So, and every child knows what that is, because that's another of the things we have in our foyer. We have a picture with a description written by each of us about our passions and our loves. And children can literally sign up to each of us for specific one-on-one mentoring. And also we do groups, because group dynamics really exciting, and you learn cooperation, of course, and that natural sense of leadership, followership, receptivity, this sort of team-orientated thing, which is a natural organic structure rather than imposed. And the adult, we also have training courses for you in the evening about awareness and expanding our awareness to see the kind of subtext going on with the children. Because as a lot of our work is this observational work, it's really, really good to be able to see on different levels and to be able to clear our own illusions and blockages of perception, because we all carry, from our past experience, we have sort of judgmental barriers often that prevent us from seeing fully what someone else is doing. So we're always working in fun, playful ways to keep that fresh and clean, so that we as adults, I won't even say educators, because we are facilitators, but the children are the educators of themselves. But as we observe, we then get the opportunity, of course, to interact with them, with each other, to see what resources we can bring in for A, B, and C. And that's why we have our both, physical in-person meetings at the end of the day. And we also have the boards, the online boards, where you can just put information and observation so that anyone working with the children can access that. And then we create our lists of what do we need physically. So there's always one or two people making new stuff. We have someone who just made a whole lot of, used a whole lot of shapes, cones and squares and cubes and spheres and dodecahedrons and all kinds of things. So one of our brilliant carpenter wizards has been making more of these so that it's available. We use our own Montessori math material, because it's a wonderful autodidactic system, and lots of variations that the children propose as they get more complex with the material. So we're always taking our observations and their suggestions and combining it and redesigning and making. So there is the making side of it. And I know that you've been very excited in the world of painting and drawing. So a lot of that can be used, especially if we've got concepts that the children want to kind of understand. If you can work with a child and diagram it through, very often it helps them to solidify what they have experienced. And then you give them the diagram, the copy of it. You can keep your diagram for your records. And they take it and can run with it and use that in their understanding, but also as a stepping stone to get to the next level. So everything we do is this beautiful holistic movement, and we understand that we're all interactive bodies within each other in this system. There's no there is coincidence that everyone is here, that this activity and this interest will find ways of fertilizing each other and coming up with something brand new. So it's very, very exciting. And at the end of each session, term, we have display days where things and stories and inventions and discoveries can all be displayed. And we have a number of different ways to do that. So whether it's in person presenting it, or whether it's filmed and that gets shown, or work on the walls, we put up screens. So there's a lot of aspects that are familiar to you with school, but it's a very different, it's a flow system. It's not a rigid system. And it's based on the flow of the entire body of beings in our system, all working in cooperation, because each person has a similar, let's say, value structure of communication. So everyone is completely wonderfully different, but we all understand the need to communicate and express, and therefore we cross-fertilize. and it's quite wonderful. So that is really an example of the kind of learning, the kind of curriculum, because there are so many adults thinking about homeschooling their children, and all they know to do is to go and get existing books and use the same curriculum that's done in schools. And it's tricky because there are gatekeepers. There are gatekeepers to these groups who say you cannot tell anyone what you do. You can't sell anyone anything. So it's like, there are these groups. Finally, there are some groups of homeschool people, but here I am with this information and knowledge and awareness and research and books. And it's how to get that information to those people. And it's very strange because they are so self-defeatist, those bear-like gatekeepers of the groups. So I just hope that if you may not be involved in any kind of homeschooling decision, but you may know somebody, So pass this on to them so that we can get this awareness through that there are other approaches. Rebecca Wild and Mauricio Wild from the Ecuador school Pestalozzi is just a wonderful genius example, and you can still buy her books. Education for Being is the best one. And there are lots in German because she wrote in German, but Education for Being will set you off. And my duty, From Duty to Joy, perfect continuation of that, of how to establish this other way of learning. And why do I do it? Because I understand how children learn. Yeah, I have made it my business. I have literally made it my business to understand how children learn. And so not only do I present the whole gamut of how children learn and what brings what, but I show examples of why you might want to go for this new way. Because as we start to move away from the top down, I must obey authority and authority knows more than I do, to the centered in your spiritual divine nature, connected to source energy and all that is, the field of source energy, your soul, your spirit, it's a completely different paradigm. And it's saying there is knowledge from the internal being, which comes through, yes, the mind, comes through the heart, comes through the gut feelings, it comes through all of this together, the being, understanding there is a draw to this. This is pulling me. This is exciting. Remember Bashar talking about that too. Go where the excitement is. And so this kind of learning is supporting that, the opening, development, unfolding of the actual divine blueprint of your child. That's why we want to get this kind of learning be. And the best way to do it in our current climate is through individuals in homeschool and little groups in homeschool. And eventually we will be able, I almost said aloud, but we won't have those. As we show the lies of every single authoritative structure on the planet, and they start to crumble as the faith in them from the people disappears, we will be able to come together and bring new centers, places to train beautiful, well-intentioned human beings who love to support children, and realize that the system they were in was antithetical to that. So we will have places where adults can come and visit and be trained in this different kind of awareness, this flow learning, this resonance learning in a prepared environment. It's just a beautiful thing. And it's very exciting and fun. And your child will not want to go home. You'll have to make the school your home. Now, that's another video I want to talk about altogether, of how eventually our living family areas will be the school. Because you in your home will have your own speciality according to you, the adult, your own speciality, just like the teachers that I was talking to in my improvisation there, that each adult will have their speciality. And imagine a cluster of homes with a central space and a central resource. Each of your homes can be a place where the children will visit to do various things according to what you are brilliant at offering. And then there is a joint place. So there's literally a geographical location of the neighborhood is the school. Now that's a beautiful thing. And we haven't had that for a long time since village schools, but village schools were rapping on the knuckles and learning by rote. So it's really this, if you want to say, when was the last time we had this? I would say Lemuria. But I would suggest more, yeah, this is coming from the future, and that's what I've been channeling for a long time through my spirit, because I like to flow along the timelines and get the information that we need. And it's time to tie it into now and start it to blossom. Thank you. Please share these and spread the word of how we can learn differently.